Yeah, our XFL takes, we were pretty harsh on him too. I don't know if we've ever really said anything nice about him, but he played well here. Not well enough to win the game though. But
Well, there's always got to be a but, Brad. There's always got to be a but.
but he played all right here. Welcome back to another episode of the 11th Island, another CFL weekly review. We're going to be looking at week 14, recapping that, looking ahead to week 15. But Chris, what are we starting off with?
Well, first off, Thursday, November 11th is Remembrance Day, and we just wanted to say thank you to all active and former veterans in Canada, and just say thank you from the bottoms of our heart because of your sacrifice and what you've gone through for our country. We get to, a couple knuckleheads like us get to sit here and watch some CFL and talk about CFL, and we all as fans can have a good time in a safe country. So thank you to the vets. Happy Remembrance Day, and wherever you are, support the Legion if you can. They do good work. But now, getting into the games. First off, we had the BC Lions rolling into Hamilton, losing 24-18 to the Ticats, or 26-18 to the Ticats. Brad, what's going on here?
Well, this is a situation. This is the story of the season for the BC Lions, where if they're not getting blown out, which they've had their fair share of, they're playing teams tough. They played the Argos tough, the first place team in the East last week, very tough, almost beat them. If their kicker could make a field goal, they would have beat them. This week, they played Hamilton really tough, lost by one score. I mean, it's tough to see with BC. Michael Riley threw for over 300 yards, and they just can't get it done. But this kind of goes to show, I mean, BC, the record doesn't show, but they're a good team this year. They are. Hamilton's really starting to put it together coming down the stretch. And that's scary for a lot of teams in the East. Looking ahead to next week, we're not going to talk about the game, but Toronto, Hamilton, that game, whoever wins that game will be in first place in the East and have home field advantage for the East final. That's huge. You get that bye, and they're going to be tied in the standings, but Hamilton has the point differential, so that's why they would move ahead, and then they would control their own destiny with the last game. So this was huge for Hamilton. They really needed to win this game and kind of get their everything going. I think Masoli clearly is who they're going with down the stretch here. He's been playing lights out. It's the defense is starting to get going as well. It's a scary time for the rest of the East if Hamilton can put it together.
Yes, and I mean, you see Brandon Banks with a big catch.
Yes,
he's really struggled this season and has kind of captured a lot of schmack talk as the season has gone on for just how good he usually is and how he's playing right now. It's nice for him, I'm sure, to get a little bit of confidence now. You know, he's been like that highlights being passed around and everything going into the stretch time. Or we're past the stretch time, but going into the time, we're heading into the playoffs. Really, I mean, this game in Toronto this Friday is practically a playoff game with how important it is for figuring out that East, and to have some confidence rolling into there after kind of a dip in the middle of the season. This is a good spot for the Tiger Cats to be in there, and they are very dangerous coming out of this game against the Lions.
And I will say, I mean, you can go back to week 3, maybe 2 on this podcast where we said the winner of these 4 games between Toronto and Hamilton will win the East Division. So check the tapes. Yeah. It's coming down. Yeah. We were right. There's not many things that we get right on this podcast. So when we get something right, we got to let people know.
Yeah, and I mean, it was looking like we're not, because the Alouettes came out of nowhere, but then...
Wait, that's what happens when you get Winnipeg back-to-back weeks here coming up here. But
yeah, it's tough out there with this schedule. Anything else to say about the Tiger Cats and the Lions?
No, I think that's all I got on that. It's unfortunate that BC is kind of squandering Michael Riley, kind of the back end of his career here. It's gonna. I don't know if he looks to move to a different team next year. BC kind of loads up, but it's really unfortunate that one of the really great QBs in this league is kind of stuck in the situation where he hasn't even been to the playoffs for a couple of years and been able to really show what he's capable of doing.
Yeah. All right. Now, the Rough Riders won a close game in Edmonton against the Elks. 19-17. That saying the word Elks is just gonna
Yeah, I mean, you thought you said something bad there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this was the theme of the weekend, though, where teams that are kind of out of the playoff race played some contenders that are fighting for
Uh-huh.
playoff positions really tough. They're clearly some of the bottom dollar teams are looking to play spoiler here, looking to earn those contracts. And I mean, with the Elks, they're looking at the big thing for them is Taylor Cornelius started this game after the big acquisition of Nick Arbuckle. They re-signed him for next year and bumping that to a second round pick for the Argos. Thank you very much. But who are they going to go with at QB? You got players playing for contracts. You got them trying to figure out who's going to be on the team next year, who's going to be leading them. Cornelius played well. We've been crapping on him all year. He played well in this game.
We've been crapping on him for more than a year. If you go back to our old XFL.
Yeah, our XFL takes, we were pretty harsh on him too. I don't know if we've ever really said anything nice about him, but he played well here. Not well enough to win the game though. But
there's always got to be a but, Brad. There's always got to be a but.
But he played all right here. I think the big thing here is it's kind of, if you're the Rough Riders, you only put 19 points up on the Elks. You kind of barely beaten them. You're going to be looking at a very live Calgary Stampeders in the first round. And if you get able to get past them, you're going to be traveling to Winnipeg in the West final. You got to start playing a lot better. Fajardo has got to really start lighting defenses
the Rough Riders need a little giddy up.
Yes, that is. You could say that.
Yeah.
You could say that if you're punny like yourself. But yeah, they got to start kind of. It's kind of been like this for the last few weeks with the Rough Riders. They're winning games, but they're not doing it. And it sounds, you win in games. That's really all that matters. But when you're not performing to the level that we know that you can, and we know that a team like the Winnipeg Blue Bombers or again the Stampeders are waiting down the line, you kind of start to worry about these teams.
Yes, but at the same time, I mean, the Bombers, let us not forget that a couple things could go differently, and the Elks have a win over the Blue Bombers recently this season. So, I mean, it's one of those things where, I mean, these teams, I mean, we're talking about the Elks, we're talking about the Red Blacks. They're just getting good. Like, some days they just get good.
Yeah, well, every dog has their day. It took them 14 weeks to start putting it together. But I think at this point, they had enough time to kind of think their season was over, go, crap, we still got enough games left. We might as well get up for it. And then, oh, crap, I need to play for a contract because I'm on a terrible team and I've been playing terrible. It's been just an up and down season. At the end of the day, too, they're professional football players. They're going to show up. They're going to play. There's times when we've talked about this where people do get discouraged, but they're professionals. They're going to show up every game. They're going to play. They got enough talent to go out and win a game. You can't look past them. But you got to be, if you're the second best team in the West per the standings, you got to beat up on the worst team in the West. Especially when you're playing all your starters and the playoffs are 3 weeks away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know what I'm gonna pull a Chael Sonnen if anybody knows what. I don't know where these rankings are, these standings.
CFL.com or CFL.ca, pardon me.
I don't know what these standings are. Okay, so next we got the Argonauts taking on the Red Blacks in our nation's capital. Unfortunately, for our nation's capital, the Argos won 23-20. Brad, you were watching that game. What are you thinking?
I don't know if I've ever seen a worse first place team. I mean, like this was one BC. Macbeth was really struggling, and Ryan Dinwiddie made some dumb decisions, and we kind of defended them. Said, you know what, it's okay. It's okay. Like, they're gonna come back. Well, Macbeth made some terrible interceptions, missed some pretty bad throws. At one point they were down 20-9. Ryan Dinwiddie tried to challenge a play that was not challengeable, so therefore he lost a timeout in his challenge. Another dumb mistake by the coach. And then it essentially, it took the Red Blacks kicker, Lewis Ward, who's one of the best kickers in the league, to miss 3 field goals for them to win this game. So you're looking at back-to-back weeks where teams near the bottom of the standings miss 3 field goals that allow your team to win. That's not going to keep happening. You like, especially with Hamilton coming up. You think Hamilton's just going to leave it to their kicker who's going to somehow miss 3 field goals again this week? No, you got to start playing teams better. And this is a tough look for Macbeth too, because he's been playing not great whatsoever. And after they get rid of Arbuckle, who again, I think still has a very high ceiling, and I remind you, is the only QB this league to beat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. You trade him away, choose Macbeth, and then he just stinks it up.
Yeah. Well, I think you got to give some credit to Boris Beatty, who's just been an
Boris Beatty's lighting it
unstoppable.
up.
Yeah, he's been an unstoppable force for the Argonauts. And I was gonna go the other side and just say, hey, it's in this league that the kicking game has been so important this season, and so many teams have failed fatally at that position. How nice is it for the Argonauts to have a guy in Boris Beatty that it's just like, oh, this guy's gonna go 5 for 5, and we're good.
Yeah, Boris Beatty is looking like the team MVP for the Argos in all reality.
It really, and you think about, I mean, every other team has lost games off of missed field goals, most of the time against the Argonauts. And Boris Beatty has just been boom, 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 rock solid.
Yeah, he was
and
a
then,
great offseason pickup.
yeah,
I would absolutely love to have Boris Beatty on the show to talk to him and just ask. And just I would love to know what goes through his head in games when he's going 5 for 5 and seeing the other kicker miss 3 field goals. But
yeah,
also too, we have to talk about from this game too before we move on. We won't Ben forever. Devlin Hodges, Duck Hodges, started for the Red Blacks. First game starting in the CFL, and guess what? He did not play very well at all. He threw for under 100 yards. I mean, they almost won the damn game throwing. He threw for under 100 yards. That tells you how bad the Argos played. But what are we thinking here for Duck Hodges? Is he the future of the Red Blacks? He didn't play that much better than Caleb Evans. In all reality, Caleb Evans has shown better this season. What do we think of?
I think you just gotta pick somebody and go for it, because right now you're not gonna have a magical, like, oh, that fixed everything, So obviously they're like, oh, that's the alarm. And so obviously people are gonna be whoever you put in is gonna be held back to an extent just by where the team is at, the hole that the team has dug itself this whole season. And the management and everything. There's too many factors that are not QB that are going to cause a guy to maybe throw under 100 yards. You can't just be like, okay, we're gonna put that guy out. Nope, didn't fix the problem. Okay, this guy out, this guy out. Eventually, it's just like, just roll with somebody, roll them into the next season, just so that they can come in with some experience. When you build things around them in the offseason, figure out, okay, these guys, we don't even know what their style or whatever. Like, we just got to figure out things, put that together around this guy. But if you just keep going back and forth, then the new guy's coming in every week, and then we're just treading water here.
Yeah, I think every QB that steps in for the Red Blacks and throws out a stinker just reinforces that Trevor Harris will be the starting QB for the Ottawa Red Blacks next year. Montreal is going to have to move on from him when Vernon Adams comes back. And he's going to move back to Ottawa, familiar grounds, earn the last $300,000 he's got in the last year of that contract, and start it for the Red Blacks. I'm not saying he's going to do well, but a familiar name, familiar face, somebody that's been proven, somebody that the Red Blacks can look at to their fans and say, hey, this guy's played well. He's won a Grey Cup in this league. You can't be mad at us for putting him out there. They'll probably surround him with a bunch of crappy players, just like this year. He's going to look like Matt Nichols, where it's like, wow, we thought this guy was a lot better.
When you're describing that, though, it sounds exactly like the Matt Nichols situation.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's what we're going to see next year. That's what unless there's some really wholesale changes in the organization, but to this point, they haven't shown that. I'd be happy to see if they prove me wrong.
Well, I mean, one last thing. Devontae Dedmon, just phenomenal on special teams. So good. And I think, I mean, that's how you pick up for bad quarterback play right there.
And he re-signed. He re-signed for a couple of years in Ottawa too, so he's going to be sticking there. He is somebody that, no matter how bad that team is, he'll make you tune in to watch.
Yes, yeah, because I mean, every single game where the Red Blacks have been like, oh, these guys could win, or you go into this game like, well, we can't overlook the Red Blacks. It's because of him, because he
Yep.
can just turn a game around on one kick return.
Yep.
All right, now let's move to our last game. 31-21. Fill in the blanks.
We're Winnipeg over Montreal here. Are you trying to test me? It's 7 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, I mean, this is a situation where Winnipeg just keeps rolling here. We didn't know at what point that they've already locked in the West Final. At some point here, they're going to start sitting their starters. And I mean, as East Conference fans of the Argos, we're kind of going, please don't sit your starters. We need Montreal to lose this game. And true to they really didn't. Their defense showed out. They kind of let a few points in early, really kind of nailed it down. The fourth quarter, the statistic that I saw, I believe Winnipeg this year has allowed 6 points in the fourth quarter, no touchdowns. That doesn't feel real. I had to read that again. I didn't believe it. We're going into week 15. That defense is all time. In all reality, if they're able to go out and win the Grey Cup, this is a defense that in CFL history we will look back on as one of the best. They're that good.
Yeah.
And at all levels, all sides, they are just studs across the line.
Well,
and I don't know how much longer they're going to be able to keep them together. So this is something we got to appreciate while it's here.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is the fourth quarter thing. It's clockwork. You know, it's not just they're good and like they're good through a game, but then there's like sporadic points where you do break. You always every defense breaks eventually. It's like on a schedule. Their bodies are on a schedule, and you see that even in if you look at the odds for any of these games. You look at the over under, you look at the spread, and I mean those. If you put those two things together, it's okay. This is what Vegas thinks this game is going to be at, and it never ever has the Bombers giving up more than 10 points. It's always that 10, like sitting in that. I don't care what the team is, and there was that stretch where that was what they were giving up. You know, it was like 20-10, 30-10. You know, it's just so they are so good, so good. And if like it's just,
and they're not sitting down. When Mike O'Shea was asked about that stat, and he said, "Well, I'd like to see that for all four quarters, not just the fourth quarter." Mike, you're 11-1.
Yeah.
What more do you want from this team? But they're not happy. And that's a good sign. That's a good sign because they're not happy. Yeah,
and I mean
they still want to play better.
The amount of times that you've sat there and you've had an over or something, or you need someone to at least just hit the spread, and then just Willie Jefferson comes in, or just like it's Big Hill comes in and just shuts it down in the fourth. Yee.
Yeah, it's Winnipeg. They're just looking unstoppable at this point. At this point, looking ahead though, with 2 games left. They got to start resting some starters here because God forbid somebody roll over Zach Claros' ankle, something like that, or one of your Jeff Code or Willie Jefferson or injure something. You need all these guys coming into the playoffs here. So I think we're going to see sometimes some of these guys are going to start getting rest here. And then to not miss out on Montreal whatsoever. Trevor Harris here played competent. I don't like it's tough to kind of measure playing against Winnipeg, but at the end of the day, if you want, they're a team in this league. You got to beat them if you're trying to get into that playoff spot, and you might have to see them at the end of the day if you make the Grey Cup. Trevor Harrison playing well enough to win the game. He's gonna get another chance coming into next week to play them again. He's got to play a bit better here. Montreal, they didn't really give up a lot for him, in all honesty, but it's the pay in this league where Cap's base is so tight when they're already going to be paying Vernon Adams a lot. He's kind of got to earn that. And I mean, at the end of the day too, he's had a rough season. He's got to show that he's still a legit threat in this league.
Yeah, and to go up against the Blue Bombers next week as well. It's like really, I mean, you gotta fight because you want to maintain some momentum. Each week as we go by, it's looking more sure that the Alouettes are going to be in third place. I don't know math very well, so they could be locked in there no matter what the calculations are. But even if you're going to be stuck in third, you're going to say, look, we're going to have to take on two road games against East Coast teams in a best scenario to get to the Grey Cup to fight these guys again. It's like we got to get some momentum, some confidence. We can't just be getting stuffed in the fourth, like 2 weeks in a row. So it's a very difficult schedule that the Alouettes have had, and for the timing that with all the Vernon Adams stuff, having to switch QBs, all that's unfortunate stuff that happened. It came at a terrible time where the schedule just all of a sudden cranks up for the Alouettes, and it's a shame because I mean they are. You look at it in terms of playing the Ticats, in terms of playing the Argonauts, they're very evenly matched. They're very they have
Yeah.
almost as much of a claim to first place as the Argos of the
Well,
Ticats do.
well, and
But
Chris too. I will say for the standings going into the two
yeah,
games left in the East, 1, 2, 3 have all clinched. They could finish. Every one of those teams could finish in any of those three spots,
okay,
depending on how the next two games shape up.
that's how
So
it
it is.
came.
It is wide open at this point, and these last two games are really going to decide it. Especially, I mean, looking at the Toronto Hamilton game, that's really key next week. But any of these teams could finish in any three spots. So
Okay, so
wide
so
open.
then we really need to go time, which is makes it even more like why do we have to play the Blue Bombers twice? That's why it sucked when the Argos played the Blue Bombers twice in the start of the season. You're just like you watch that week 2 game, you're like, oh no, and then all of a sudden that was a good time, but you know what I'm saying. Now it's out of the way, and the Argos have the 1 win. All right,
Yes.
so we're gonna look ahead to week 15.
Okay.
First off, we have what's going to be, I think, game of the week, Friday, November 12th. Ticats, Argos. There is no spread. This is a pick 'em fight. Over under 45.
Well, I'm excited about this game too because this is gonna be the first game me and you actually be at together since September, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we missed all the October games. We ended up going with other people, but it's gonna be nice to be back at the game together, freezing at BMO Field. I can't go against Toronto here. I'm gonna have to pick Toronto. But I mean, if Macbeth keeps throwing the ball 10 yards away from the closest receiver into the defender's hands, I may regret that pick.
I think in a lot of ways, Argos fans have to show up. It's going to be cold. There's going to be Ticats fans there that are going to be going crazy on us. But people got to show up and be talking that smack. Yell at the bench, yell at the Ticats bench, do whatever you can. It's gonna be a big game. All right, so next. Oh wait, first over under on that. Did you touch on
What
that?
was it? What was the number?
45.
I might go over here. I think could be high scoring. I could like a 30-25 type of game.
I see that. Okay. Next we have the Stampeders, who were off on bye last week, up against the Lions. The Stampeders are -2.5. The game's
Yeah,
in BC.
Yeah, I think you still take Calgary here -2.5 because with the win here over BC, Calgary's clinching the playoffs. So they'd be the last team to clinch. They got a lot of momentum coming after the bye. They'll go into BC and take this win, take the points.
45.5 over under.
I think over. I think both teams will put up points here.
All right, so then we have the aforementioned game, the Bombers going to Montreal to take on the Alouettes. The Bombers, you can get -8.
I think you take Montreal at the +8. Then here, I'm not saying that they win the game, but I'm saying that Winnipeg's probably going to start resting some of their starters. So this is a big spot for a backdoor cover and keep it a 1-score game.
And then all that in mind, 44.5 over under.
Over. Winnipeg will put up points, and then if you think Montreal will cover in the back, yeah.
All right, then finally we have the Elks taking on the Rough Riders. Some little repeat action here in Saskatchewan. So the Saskatchewan's going to be -10.5.
I mean, after last week, I'd be afraid to take the points here. I mean, I think you got to take Edmonton plus 10.5. Saskatchewan's not proven that they're going to blow you out here, and Edmonton's saying that they're going to play tough. I think you take the points here.
44 over under.
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 These teams can't put up points, so.
Okay. Any thoughts now that we're at the end?
No, I think that's all I got. I mean, we're really getting down to it here. There's 2 games left. 5 of the 6 playoff spots have been clinched. There's going to be one. If Calgary beats BC, that one gets clinched. We're really coming down to it here. It's the final stretch, and we're looking ahead to the playoffs. It's exciting. I mean, this is our 16th video for the CFL, so we're grinding right along with you. It's been fun. I'm really looking forward to the playoffs. Looking forward to this Friday, going to the game with you. I think that might be one of the games of the year in Toronto there. So it's going to be fun. Yeah. You got anything else, Chris?
Nope, that's it. Just once again, happy Remembrance Day to all of our veterans, active and former. Thank you for your sacrifice. Have a great week, everybody. Enjoy the upcoming slate of games.
And make sure to please like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. If you're listening to the audio podcast, we're on YouTube. If you're listening on YouTube, we're also on audio podcasts. Just search 11th Island. Subscriber giveaway at 350 and 500 subscribers. And enjoy the slate of games this weekend, and we'll see you next week.